is it? There seems like there is this desire on the part of many people, not just Christians, to live a more rigorous, more stoic life. You know, people are getting into CrossFit. They're getting into those crazy courses, mud courses, or whatever they're called. You know,
Tough Mudders.
Tough Mudders. Yeah. They run triathlons.
Yeah.
People seem to be recognizing this. We live in a pampered existence, and we have this desire to impose upon ourselves a ton of ascetical practices that. My dad, when I grew up, I'm sure your dad too, would have never thought, I need to make my life more difficult in some ways.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to take a step back and just to realize that, corporations are incentivized a lot to make life easier, quicker, more comfortable, and they make a ton of money off of us for doing precisely that. And so where we find ourselves is a situation like the one we're in today where, seemingly the toughest part of the day in America can be maybe the trek, between your car and your office in the morning, if you live in any kind of climate that's more challenging than,
the traffic. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that or just like the elements for like a few meters, or whatever.
Gotcha.
So it's important to take a step back and say, like, is this actually really good for me? And, despite like all the comforts, am I more myself? Am I in control, actually, despite all of these choices of comfort? And I think what most people experience is the farther we go along, it doesn't necessarily necessitate that, I'm maturing in sort of my responsibility, my freedom with all of this stuff. I become enslaved to it. And so, we are just kind of taking a step back and making the choice to say no to lower things that are not unreasonable. Like most, frankly, when ordered people, a lot of like good priests and stuff, take a look at Exodus, they're like, well, that's what I do every day.
Wow.
And it's like, well,
cold showers.
Well, good. Maybe for some of them.
Yeah, but a lot of this is they abstain from alcohol except for feast days.
Yeah, right. So it's not impossible. And so, all that's to say at this point, like 65% of the guys in Exodus are married. 90% of those men have kids, so they're making time for this amidst the hustle and bustle of life. And, somehow, it's not impossible, even if it seems daunting. And it's certainly when we look at it from the lens of the past, it was more like regular life, for sure. So,
how have you found this liberating in your own life? I mean, this idea of being, idolizing these different things, and how has it been a liberating experience for you personally?
That's a great question. So I try to do Exodus once a year to stay in touch with it. You don't want to be a part of a team and not in touch with your mission, right? So, I would say in the latest round, I think I experienced just a profound gift of just being at peace with myself without without distraction. So, this kind of originates many years ago. So I left the seminary, like I talked about. And I don't know, we don't talk about this a lot today, but leaving a seminary context where things are super ordered and, you're kind of God's gift to the church and everybody's kids, should be like you, to all of a sudden you're just a normal person and you got to make ends meet, and you got to figure it out. It's a really rupturing and kind of a challenging psychological situation. And certainly for me, it just kind of like, it was kind of traumatic. It was like, man, I'm the same person I was, but I'm viewed differently or I'm treated differently or whatever. And what kind of had resulted from some of that was just like, I would work harder and harder on Exodus, to help it to grow, to move it and all this stuff. And I realized, that's not truly free. That's not real freedom. I'm not, I'm running away from some of these kind of wounds, And so Exodus kind of created a space where I had to look all that stuff straight in the eye, and get the help I needed to get. And without it kind of removing some of my distractions, I don't know if I ever would have got there. And so literally one of my favorite things now is just sitting there and kind of like getting in touch with myself. How am I actually doing? How am I actually feeling? What am I feeling, And I think when most people are honest with themselves, like they're just running away from things. And to be honest with you, in the last year, it's just like been profoundly like just a gift to not feel like I'm doing that anymore.
Wow.
So anyway, that's kind of personal, but that was kind of a personal question.
I want it to be personal. What would you say is the most difficult thing for you personally to give up? In other words, if you could give yourself a break, not that you want to because it's not the point, what rule would you relax to make it so, what would make it an easy 90 days by relaxing one rule? What would it be?
Yeah. I dislike the cold showers.
Yeah.
Tremendously. I dislike them. One of the decisions we made as a team, though, so there's just a couple guys that are working on the ministry full time.
Okay.
And we just realized, like, we need to be praying more for all the men in Exodus and all the men that are called to it that we haven't yet reached. And so we decided, when you come join the team, you take cold showers every day.
Oh, so the people who work for Exodus.
Work for Exodus, yeah.
So you take cold showers every day?
Every day, and then
even when you're not doing Exodus?
Even when you're not doing it, and then we also commit to Mass and doing a daily hour of prayer. And so, I don't say that in any way to brag. It's not that impressive. It's just to say, like, I dislike that part, which is why I keep with it, because, I have experienced the power of, when I say no to these comforts, it actually reinvigorates me to say yes to the more important things, being attentive to my wife, listening after a long day at work, and being present, all of those things, which, when I'm just distracted, I'm not showing up for, so anyway, cold showers, I hate them, but I do them because of it.
I think for me, I don't know if you know this because I think we've texted about it.
Yeah.
I did a solid Exodus 22.
22, yeah.
Crushed
and then you quit.
I quit.
Yeah.
Because I'm a loser. I
No,
want to be clear.
it's not 'cause you're a
I
loser.
am. That is the reason. And I say that because I'm tired of men quitting halfway through and blaming Exodus 90.
Yeah.
Exodus 90 wasn't why I quit. I quit because of me, because I was flabby and weak and, I should have stuck with it. Now, I think if I'm looking back and I see why was it that I quit, I think number one, I got excited one day, and given my temperament, I'm like, let's just do it immediately.
Yeah.
So I don't want to wait till the next start date. I don't want to prepare.
Yeah.
I just want to start. The next thing is I didn't have a fraternity.
Yeah.
I talked one guy into doing it with me like 5 days later, but he's a real lone wolf. We never chatted.
Yeah.
And I remember just one day I got in the shower and I turned it all the way hot and went, done. And that was it. And I just quit. I just completely quit.
Yeah.
Talk about fraternity, because we haven't really touched upon that yet. How vitally important that is to the success of Exodus 90.
Yeah, it's everything. I mean, I think it's, and it's not to devalue the prayer or the ascetic components, but, one of the most, I think, life-giving parts of it is you're newly accountable to a group of men. So if these are previously your friends, your relationships grow way deeper. And it's just a powerful thing to be accountable, to know that there's this place in the world where you're not getting away with anything. That's actually like an incredibly liberating experience, right? And it's also so powerful to see what God does and what grace can do in the lives of others and how that can motivate you. I've seen this countless times in fraternities where guys who, quote, have it all together or whatever are just so moved by some profound conversions they see in guys who maybe weren't as spiritual before they started Exodus, but how that sort of makes them double down and realize, like, man, no, there is more progress to make. I can know the Lord more intimately. So anyway, all of those things you lose when you lose a fraternity. The other big thing is, like, Exodus, without that opportunity, it can easily become, an opportunity just for, like, self-reliance. And so that's something, that comes up from time to time, is like, oh, you're just, forming everybody into Pelagians. And what's funny, when you look at that heresy, it actually has nothing to do really with self-reliance.
Okay.
However, all that's to say, it's like when you're in a fraternity, you can't. I mean, it's not just about you. It's about your brothers. And so that's why that weekly fraternity meeting, that daily check-in with your anchor or your accountability partner is essential for Exodus to be what it was meant to be. So we had that question a long time ago, like, well, do we keep the fraternal component together as we share this with other men? And we're just like, yeah,
we have to.
Yeah.
And so to be clear for those listening who aren't familiar with Exodus 90, what is an anchor?
Yeah, anchor, accountability partner, just so somebody that you check in with daily.
Within the
fraternity, right. So, say you're really struggling with, maybe you're just not actually praying. Like, you don't have a daily prayer life. Like, this is someone you talk to and say, hey, today, I made my commitments that I said that I was going to make, So
I got to share this.
Sure.
I'm pulling this up on the app while we're talking, the Exodus 90 app, which is amazing. Okay.
Hey, first version, we're still working on.
This is incredible. I'm so glad you invested whatever the heck you invested in this app to make it great, because it's incredible. But this shows you one of the guys in my fraternity, Danny Ryan, amazing guy.
Yeah.
And I was sharing this in the group. I'm like, I'm kind of afraid that I'm just going to give in again, and he's so encouraging. he said, he texted me, I'm excited because you are going to complete this Exodus 90. We will support you however we can. And please be sure to lean on, this other brother when you feel weak. Anchor's a key to get through this. He's done it before. But it's just amazing to be with these brothers. The other reason I think it's important to have a brotherhood is while you should not begin Exodus 90 thinking, I'll probably slip up. Like you should be fully committed, expecting never to slip up. There can be a temptation, I think, to treat it like an all or nothing experience. That is to say, I screw up one day and I intentionally screw up. I'm like, hot shower, don't care. Yeah. But if you've got brothers, they're like, it's all right. Get back up.
That's right. They just put things in perspective, and typically a perspective that's a lot more like God's than like yours.
How so? What do you mean?
I just mean I think God's a little bit more compassionate upon us than we are upon ourselves.
Amen. Yeah.
And which is to say, you're really right about that. Like, when you take your hot shower on day 22, it's just an opportunity to come to the fraternity and be like,
I did it,
and it's time to move forward.
It was amazing.
From there. But and it was amazing. We're really missing out.
Yo, thanks for watching. You can watch the entire episode on YouTube if you want. You can listen to it at The Matt Fradd Show by subscribing on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And feel free to support me, patreon.com/Matt Fradd.